Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
What's up, everyone? We have a fun show today. It's our comment show, meaning we're going to answer your comments live.
We should get a lot of them.
We should have thousands of comments.
Thousands upon thousands.
Mark Zuckerberg actually killed Facebook today for us.
Son of a bitch.
So we're not going to be able to answer your comments live on Facebook. If you're getting this SOS message, we are live on YouTube.
Yeah. Text us a comment.
Yes, you can text us.
Yeah, if you know us personally.
Yeah, Derek, could you run our lower thirds up there?
Yeah.
Tell them to text us if they have any questions.
Let's do a hotline, dude. Just put Matt's cell phone number up there as a hotline and text in if you're watching on YouTube.
That's perfect.
I mean, I always call him for a good time.
That is fair.
So it's just us three today.
Yeah.
And wanted to kind of go through some of the questions that we've been constantly asked of one, the purpose of doing this show and kind of what we're incorporating in our businesses. So how are you guys doing?
Good, man. I was kind of excited to talk about all the stuff I've stolen from Kyle Chaston and Stuman over the past 3 weeks because I realized how much my social media, how weak it was.
That's the best part of doing this.
I know.
We learn more than
stuff.
anybody, yeah.
It's great, man. It's awesome.
Matt, you out of both of us have been implementing almost everything. So, I mean.
It's cool, man. Like the little, I'm 40, first off, so a little bit of it's like old man with new toys. But like the Instagram videos and just like, I don't know, just trying to brace a little bit more. Plus it's fun messing around with something new.
So what with that, right? Because you're even doing some things I'm not doing, and I feel like I was pretty social media savvy, but what are you experiencing with using Fiverr, right? You're outsourcing this because I know that you're not creating those those cut up video images.
No.
So what is that? What was your experience with that? What are you, and you're starting to post that. I know you have an open house one that you just did.
Yeah.
What are you seeing? Any results yet?
Well, again, Zuck let everybody down today, so I was a little bit bummed out about when I posted. I wasn't getting as many views as I wanted. So I don't know, but here's the thing I think that's cool about it, especially for Brian probably knows this more than anybody, but boosting a little video like that, it was only 45 seconds. You guys can go check it out on my Facebook page or her group, DFW. But it was just, I think it's about engagement for me a little bit, but more importantly, it was a cool way to advertise an open house just to see if it helps us drive more traffic. I did that one on the open house because my open house traffic has kind of sucked lately.
Right.
I don't know if it's the weather or whatever. I just wanted to try to drive. This is a great little house. And people will do a dance for a Starbucks and a Chick-fil-A gift card. So I figured, why not do it a video and boost it out there for 4 days, see if it works. So I'll let you guys know on next Wednesday if it was worth a damn.
Yeah. Well, but it goes to show how easily you can make that really badass presence.
It was $12.
Yeah,
in 24 hours I had it back.
Yeah,
it was $12.
And that's the thing is, if we didn't just say that out loud that you did it off Fiverr and use leverage, people would look at that and go, I don't know how to make that.
I know.
Neither do I.
That's
Neither do you.
I do.
Right?
I don't.
We live in an age where everything digitally can be leveraged so easily for so cheaply. You're crazy not to utilize that.
Yep.
Well, and if you want to see what we're talking about, go to our Instagram. So we do have an Instagram page that we just launched as well. So we're starting to hit every angle. If you're kind of following us along, we're doing this and phases, right? So phase 1 was getting more consistent with this podcast. Phase 2 was getting our social media presence stronger, and then really starting to get that all the exposure on all channels. So if you go to only RE podcast on our Instagram, you can see the video, the shortened clips that we're talking about. And if you don't know what Fiverr is, FIVERR.com, where you can go get things for $5.
So that video was $12. I found somebody to help us write show notes for this show. For the YouTube channel. Jay Ludgrove, shout out to our guy in London, Joey Torkelson. He has a podcast called The Grind. He's out of Minnesota. He hooked me up with him when we started doing this, and so I had an early morning call because he's in London. So we had a 7 a.m. Zoom call, and he gave me a whole bunch of good stuff. We could do some production notes, plus the people up here at Real News PR, dude. It's like starting to look good.
Well, and back to what you were saying, you know, with the open house video, that's not something that you or I or any of us ourselves find particularly entertaining because we do it all the time, every weekend, right? It's sort of like the conversation we were having with Draper the other day when I was talking about, you know, myself getting out of my shell and being more active on social media as far as sharing things about me and my profession and my business, things like that, because we've been doing this so long, it seems mundane to us, right? And Draper's like, you're absolutely right. People shouldn't care about what you're doing, but they do. They're voyeuristic, right? And so when we're talking about leveraging out a little bit of pizzazz for your videos, this can be about anything, man. If you're out doing your job, you're showing houses, you go on a listing appointment, you're negotiating repairs, you're doing whatever, you can create content out of that, leverage it out, and splice it into something that people really want to engage with and want to see. And that's not that hard to do. Being consistent about it, but it's not that the concept of it is not that hard to do. It is marketing in a digital platform is easier now than it ever has been.
Well, and it's cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's you know, Fiverr is like the dollar store. Nothing's truly a dollar at
right.
it. But,
yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. That costs $12, right?
Yeah.
The show notes that we create here is $20.
Yeah.
$20. I mean, at the end of the day, there's no reason why you can't go create a intro video or a little, you know, 60-second ad that you can go send out to your sphere via Facebook, email, YouTube, etc. for without spending thousands of dollars.
If you're not hitting, especially your sphere, the people that already know you and see your content, if you're not hitting them at least monthly with a video email or something that's real nicely put together for cheap, that's a huge missed opportunity because that's an easy way to stand out.
I think you did it this week with the email that we sent out about the show. That was really, I mean, it doesn't have to be over the top. All I literally did was stood in my last open house last Sunday that was dead and took a 45-second video in front of one of the really nice rooms in the house that the seller had set up, sent it off to my guy on Fiverr, and got it back 24 hours later. And now our marketing team is going to boost it out, and we'll see how it works. I mean, that's going to be part of our marketing strategy every time. Whenever we take a listing, the listing agent's going to record a 45-second video inviting them out to our Sunday open house from 1 to 4, be vague about the day, so you can use that every single Sunday until that house goes off the market.
And here's the benefit of that. You don't have to spend money to boost it on Facebook.
No.
Here's the what I like about that. It's creating content, right? Now you're creating content over an open house. You're creating content over showing houses. Like I still use Snapchat every now and again. And so what I'll do is I'll go snap a house that I'm walking through. I'll download it, then upload it to Instagram. But what that's doing is that's hitting multiple channels and platforms. And then I'm going to go use Fiverr, start cutting stuff up, some of these videos up, and then we start promoting more out. It's just repurposing our content. And so what does that do? One, if you're going on a listing appointment, then you better be hiring an agent that is utilizing these tools and technology, correctly. And what does that also do for you as your own personal brand? So, the Matt Kelderman, the Kelderman Group, the Forest Group, the Good Home Team, you're going to remember us because we're putting, we're raining on you every day or weekly with our content, whether that's video, text, email, calls, etc. Right? And so there's no reason why, in this business, we can't be our own media company.
Well,
absolutely.
It's a good point that you make about it not being expensive to boost. You don't need to pay for boosted post, boosted engagement, this type of stuff. If you're doing something just like you just did, who are the people you need to be sharing it with, right? One, talk to the sellers. Say, hey, we're trying to get our organic reach up. I'm gonna post this to your timeline. You share it or come share it from my timeline, whatever. Talk to your sphere. What another good reason to be engaged with your sphere? Say, hey, I want to promote, I'm trying to promote my open house, help out my sellers, blah, blah, blah. If your sphere won't promote that for you, you need to get a new sphere. You need to get new friends. But it's just another reason for you to engage with the people that you already know. That organic reach right there, if you get an open house video shared 15, 20 times with your sphere, that gets pretty big as far as the reach and engagement. And it's free. And it's another way to connect with people about what you do for a living. So it's kind of three-tiered.
And Kyle said the best thing on our show about, or maybe it was even Stuman, I don't remember which one, but about be popular locally first. Right? Like, stop worrying about people giving two shits about you outside of McKinney. Right? Like how about you just people around there know you, right? We all see these guys at some of these events we go to that crank out tons of videos, right? I don't know what the hell kind of production they do. Some of them I'm not even 100% sure what they actually do, right? But I know their face and I recognize them, and there's somebody that I at least want to interact with. So I think there's so many ways it parlays into so much stuff, and it's cheap.
Well, and most of the content you create, honestly, in the beginning, I mean, I ripped off a video style weekly updates from viral marketing. Now I do use viral in my business today, but before I didn't want to spend $550 a month. I was like, absolutely not. For videos, no.
Right.
And I ripped it off, right? And in the beginning, the feedback I got was from agents. Other agents watch other agents. They watch all their shit, right? And then eventually what happens is your consumers start, the customers and clients will eventually start watching. So, you get feedback from the agent community, and what are they going to do? They're going to like it at first, then they're probably jealous, and then they'll probably hate on it, and then they'll stay hating you, or eventually they'll come around and be like, oh, that guy's actually not that bad of a dude. I think Stuman and I brought it up, where Stuman's like, I have so many, people that thought they hated me, and then they got to know me. It's like, wow, he's not a bad dude. And I think all three of us had that, preconceived notion of him, previously before getting to know him on a deeper level.
Have you guys figured out my fake email address that I rip all your stuff off with yet?
No, because I don't go through it.
I'm not even trying to figure out who you guys are. I just want to make up one that's fantastic.
Good.
You guys,
mine's good. It's from a movie.
Is it?
It's Kaiser Sose and then a number
nice.
at gmail.com. And if you don't know what movie that's from, I feel bad for you.
Mine may have something to do with Barry.
Probably I would have picked up on that for sure.
That's miraculous. Well, I mean, I think that kind of takes us to the main thing that specifically Dr. Be Good was talking to us about how technology can affect our business, to take it into the comment part of our non-comment show since Facebook isn't working.
Comment number 1.
So Dr. Be Good is she's my mom.
Right? It's awesome.
Number one fan. And she does have her own show, her own podcast show called The Dr. Be Good Show. But she did ask, will technology make business better in the long run?
I think we're sitting here talking about how it already has. Right. I know she's talking probably on a broader scale, right? Like the stuff that all real estate agents freak out about, the Zillows and Redfins and the iBuyer platforms and all that kind of stuff. But I like some of the stuff that we're able to do with technology. I think the same advantages that those guys have because of technology, we have the same advantage. We can use technology through video and do the same stuff. It just typically, I think people are bitching and whining about not being able to do it or it's too expensive or whatever.
But that's the thing. And that's a really good point, because this is a never-ending conversation, because your amount of technology or what you're used to or the advances in technology in society as a whole is always relative to your place in time, just as far as how you fit in with humanity, right? There were cavemen back thousands of years ago having this same conversation when the wheel was invented. Half of them were like, well, that's not
Didn't
fair.
Stuman say there were ads in those too?
There were the hieroglyphics, and they were like, well, this is going to be a monopoly. There's no way I can.
I think they said fire was going to be a fad.
Fire's going to be out soon.
I mean, human beings just adapt to things so quickly that there's no vanishing point or some ultimate horizon where technology becomes too much of a factor. I don't think. It's just about our ability to adapt to it. And I would argue that technology is becoming easier and easier to adapt to. I would cite my 2-year-old nephew who knows how to use an iPad now better than I do, right? Like, we're so good at figuring this stuff out now, and it can always be leveraged for really cheap, that technology is becoming cheaper and cheaper to use. Capitalism. But that's why I don't think it never makes it worse in the long run. It will always be different. The environment will always be changing because technology will always be, forward thinking. But our ability to adapt, I think, has gotten better and better and will continue to. So I think there's always a place for it.
So the skeptic in me, though, right? So we have a big problem with technology where we want to utilize it too much and not get back into the face-to-face, right? So I think it's good and bad. I think we start to rely on it too much, just like, we're doing a comment show, and Facebook's down. Is that technology or is that...
Pretty good point.
Yeah.
Hey, so I'll tell you what. Last time Facebook went down on us, or we had a snafu, this whole show went to shit. So we're maintaining pretty strong.
Yeah, I was going to say we're actually here doing something. Not just calling it a day.
But we're utilizing technology to not. We're supplementing that instead of making our phone calls to them or getting back face to face. And what that does is that loses that very interpersonal touch. And so it may feel too cold at times. So, it's good and bad. And all businesses are using this and utilizing it. So,
and I think that opens up an opportunity, though, too, because when everybody gets addicted to a certain type of technology or something becomes the norm, it opens up an envelope for another way of communication that people aren't doing anymore, right? So I think that actually hard mail is working really, really well for us right now because people have abandoned it because it's expensive.
Yeah.
And our cost per lead is probably a lot higher than obviously on our digital marketing. But the leads are better. Same with connecting with our sphere and stuff like that. If we get so dependent on technology that we are never picking up the phone and calling our sphere and talking to people, guess who's going to thrive? The people who do stuff like that, because it's a better way to connect, and it's something that people haven't gotten so, sort of just, used to now, that people that are willing to do both things and still connect in that manner are gonna thrive.
No, and I agree with you. I mean, we just signed a new listing this past week that the lady's been in our database since 2016. She was a call center, circle prospecting, right? Not even in our area at that time, Mansfield. So I don't even know why we were calling around that area at the time. But she's watched every video that I put out. So twice a month, I send out religiously twice a month. Viral Marketing sends out my videos, and she felt like she knew me. In fact, when hopefully this one doesn't go out to her, but she thought we had talked, and I've never spoken to this lady, but met with other real estate agents, I think 3 or 4. Okay. And Elizabeth ran the appointment over the phone and signed them. Right, so signed her.
That's awesome.
And she felt obligated to go with us because she felt that we did the upfront work beforehand. And really, it was leveraging technology. So it's good and bad.
Yep.
Right. I see the pros and cons, and where with our newer agents, where I get onto them and saying, look, some of these communication methods, you're trying to rely on text and email when really you're avoiding that phone call or meeting with them face to face, because we just want to let technology take care of it, or hide behind the screen.
Putting a face to the name, though, is huge, too, though. That gives me, like, an awesome idea, because we do, anybody who's, and I'm sure you guys do something similar, anybody who's a good nurture for us or an expired that I can't get the appointment right then, but they're a good follow-up, I always send them our marketing handbook, because I want you to know that I've probably got more to offer than anybody else you're sitting down with. At least I certainly think so. I've got to turn that into a video.
Our whole marketing handbook is completely consumer design now, right? It doesn't use there's no industry jargon in it. It's very pleasant to look at. Like, it's all completely based on being sent to them.
Right.
It's really easy to view on your phone, like wherever we think that they're going to see it. Now, I mean, you guys take a few more listings than we do, specifically you guys do, but we're just trying to tweak that, I think having a digital aspect of that would be huge too. Yeah. So I don't know.
Ours is like 25 pages long, and it's a lot of,
it's a lot.
I'm a writer.
That's
so
a lot.
I was going to say a lot of words, very few pictures, and I don't know that people really,
I can
turning that into a video presentation that I can email is huge.
I wouldn't read that shit.
No.
There's no way.
I'll show you.
I've ever read it. And I wrote it.
Mine is short and sweet, right? So, if we're sending you, our package, right? Like David says, he's sending the big package, not the little one this time.
Yep.
And so what we do is short, to the point, because we want people, if they're going to even throw it away, we want to still, if they're going to just scan it like I do, scan things and toss it, I want the bullet points in there. And then if they're in our system, then they're still going to get that similar message through our videos and our text emails, and then the phone calls and texts that are going out, which I've Adam Bailey, which kind of pushing next week's show, we do have Adam Bailey on.
Nice.
And he's built up a huge ISA department. I think it's up in Kansas, I think is where he's from, and they sold that off. But we'll get into that next week. But Adam made fun of me because I didn't have the drip campaign set up, right?
Yeah.
So I just switched over.
Was that after like our first episode when you admitted that? Is that the guy who clowned you?
No, was it that, or when we were still at the other?
I think it was at the other studio. That's what I'm saying. Like the first episode.
So think about that. That's been over a year now, I believe. Yep. And we're switched back to Boomtown. Thank God. Commissions Inc. is horrible. If you want to reach out to me about that, I'd love to talk to you.
He is going to piss pound them every week.
We got to get somebody else to sponsor us because we talk so much.
Speaking of our show
one
notes,
of their adversaries has got to start paying us for dogging on them.
Our guy who wrote those show notes linked them, and one time I was like, no, we'll just delete that shit.
Yeah. We should put in the show notes why not to use commission
exactly.
Well, I use Brevity, so Ben Kinney needs to sponsor our show. Otherwise, we're coming after you next.
Yes, but about that, we're getting our text sequence campaigns and our email campaigns, and people respond to that, and the messages are all the same. So your message, your message needs to match the market.
Yep.
And the problem is, we come up with all this cool shit, and if the consumers don't care about it, they're just tossing it away.
Yeah.
It has to match what they're wanting. And what do they want? In today's world, they want ease of convenience. That's why Open Door's winning.
Yep.
They want quick communication. That's why, with Amazon, you get instant, pretty much instantaneous,
right.
Your questions answers real fast. What else? They want to make the most amount of money if they're selling their house with doing very little work.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like a job. I want to make $1 million, but I want to work 20 hours a week and get full benefits.
Right.
And so you have to match that market and utilize the systems, and they all need to say the same thing.
Yeah. 100%.
I think that's probably our biggest gap right now in that automated part of it, is that it's some of that stuff is still written for a world when the theme was 10, write 10, or what was it, the 10 days of pain, right? Call them every day for 13 days.
Yep.
Text them and call them. That you can't, people will block your ass now. If you call me 13 days in a row.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you can't do that with everybody, but a lot of our systems are still, they're not with that frequency, but I agree with you. I think there's an update in the message that if you're still even sending emails and text messages you wrote a year ago, they're probably not accurate for this market.
No,
right.
and to give your brother Danny, Danny Force some credit. I mean, my fake email, I registered on Danny's side, so I'm sure he kind of has to know that real estate agents do that to him. But I mean, not that I copy his word for word, because he'll call you out on that.
Yeah.
But I've taken similar styles of in our text and email. Like, here's a review. One reviewer said this, right? By the way, here's our podcast channel. Here's our YouTube channel. If you haven't liked our Facebook page, and it's capturing them. It's building that entire wall, Donald Trump's wall. We're building that around our entire database that's coming in, right? And so that's the whole goal, of making sure that I'm hitting you on every single platform. And the next thing I'm trying to do is learn LinkedIn.
Yeah. I've one of the CEOs in our, Mike Dooley, one of the CEOs in our group. He's super active on LinkedIn, and that's I don't even know. I have like 2,000 people on there. I just accept everybody.
I suck at it.
I don't know what to do.
I just never got into it. I log into it maybe once every 6 months, sometimes by accident, and then I get so overwhelmed by the amount of notifications I have. And now I did not get the listing. This is about 2 years ago. A guy who, when I used to be an assistant for a smaller group in Lake Highlands, remembered me from being their gopher bitch. Okay.
And reached out to me via LinkedIn on an $800,000 listing. I lost it over staging, which we actually did, but lesson learned.
I remember that story.
I didn't tell anybody this, and I lost it to some really awesome agents in Lake Highlands, so I don't begrudge them that. And it sold 2 days later for the exact price I said to, because I didn't bring up staging. But the point is that I've never even had that opportunity without LinkedIn, so I do check it, but I don't really know what the hell I'm doing on there.
What else have people said?
Well, I kind of wanted to parlay this a little bit. Here. I know, like with the technology thing, you brought up value earlier in depressing commissions, and then what was the article that you were talking about that with somebody getting sued or whatever over the commissions?
Well, so I think it's going to be a class action lawsuit.
Yeah.
So right now, on March 6th, there was a lawsuit filed that alleges that there's cooperation and compensation and is an antitrust violation that results in consumer harm and seeks an injunction against forcing home sellers to pay the commissions of the buyer's agents. So basically what this lawsuit is saying is that it's like the anti-Sherman Trust Act of that we're all kind of cooperating together, and that sellers should not be forced into paying a buyer's agent commission.
I would fucking destroy whoever put this lawsuit together in a debate. I wish I was on the other side. It's just so easy.
And I'm sure that there's a lot of this behind some of these flat fee, like the Purple Bricks, who's no longer making money, and they're big in the UK, but they didn't make it here.
Right.
And so, I mean, kind of what we talked about off air about buyer's agent commission in this lawsuit is we've been explaining it wrong the entire time. Even how it was explained to me in the very beginning. I think we fall all in this category. Even I've been in it since 2006. We're still that new age, new school agents versus the old school. The old school is going to agree with what I say, right? Yep. So what we've always been told is, hey, we have to, you're paying the seller's paying the buyer's agent commission. Right. Well, that's not really true. You as a seller, if you hire me, you're paying me X%, whatever that is.
Right.
Right. And then I agree out of my commission to offer up Y to a buyer's agent to bring a qualified buyer into the house. Right. So essentially, you're just paying me the fee. I'm agreeing to give up whatever that next fee to that buyer's agent should be.
Right.
And it's not been explained, and I think that's the agent's poor communication fault in saying, well, I mean, you have to pay the buyer's agent commission. Well, no, that's not what it is at all. I mean, would y'all agree, or how do you see this?
Yeah. Well, I was just saying the state of Texas is different, right? Because I don't know every agent in every state, but ours has a specific spot in there where the seller is also seeing exactly what we're committed to give the other side, right? Essentially, you're paying the listing broker the whole amount, and then you're dividing up between you and the buyer's agents, which I've known agents in the DFW to not do that in an even split too, right? Which I don't know if we can even get into that kind of stuff technically. You know what I mean? Like, I just think, I don't know a ton about the lawsuit, self-admittedly, but it seems like it would be coming from a space of it's not incredibly advantageous for the people who are looking to discount the buy side for this to be the current commission structure, right?
Well, here's a quick tip for you out there. If you're explaining in this, like you said, we're doing it wrong. We're explaining that the sellers pay our commission on the buy side. Don't do that, right? You want to know what I tell my buyers when they ask about whether or not they need to pay me? I just say, you don't. My services are free for you to use.
Yeah.
You know what that does for me? Whenever people try to ask me to cut my commission or a kickback, I say, well, you're not paying me anything in the first place.
Yep.
I'm free for you to use. You don't pay for my services. I don't have to say anything beyond that. That's why nobody on the buy side, no matter what creed, culture, race, religion, whatever, tries to get me to cut my commission. I've never had to give in because they don't pay for my services in the first place, and I leave it at that. But we're talking about this lawsuit. This is an antitrust suit that has basically said, I shouldn't say basically, word for word says that buyers are being forced into a situation where they're having to pay a set amount to a buyer's agent. There's a few things wrong with that. One, the word force. Nobody's forcing anybody to enter a consensual agreement with a listing agent. Two, and this is different in different states, but in places like Texas and Virginia, Florida, the listing agreement explicitly states that the seller is paying the listing broker X commission, right? And then here in Texas, it will say that the listing broker has agreed to pay the buyer's agent X commission out of that previously stated percentage, right? So here in Texas, right, we'll usually put 6% is what the seller agrees to pay the listing agent, and then 2 pages later, it'll say that the listing broker has agreed or will agree to bring a qualified buyer's agent a usually 3% commission out of what the seller is paying them, right? And then there's spaces for non-MLS participants and things like that. But this is all consensual. Nothing is forced, and the seller explicitly is conceding to a contract that does not have them paying the buyer's agent.
Yeah.
It says that specifically in the 10-page listing agreement. So this idea that sellers are being forced to pay buyer's agent, that's not true at all. This is actually a cultural sort of ideal, right? We have a culture in real estate in which buyers and sellers have sort of mutually, as a general rule, agreed in a dynamic where if I use a buyer's agent, I'm not paying them. And if I list my home with a real estate agent, usually the industry standard is 6%. There's no laws that say it needs to be 6%, right? There's no law that even says that a listing agent needs to pay a buyer's agent. Mm-hmm. It is a one-off, one-by-one, case-by-case consensual listing agreement that can put whatever percentages and whatever dynamic you want in there, and sellers voluntarily agree to it. So there's no forcing of anybody, and the sellers don't ever pay the buyer's agent. So the idea that the entire suit is founded on a false premise. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think what I take away from it, from specifically listening to you guys, it's important for agents to be able to understand what they're talking about, right? Not just about the lawsuit, but being able to convey specifically, here is the commission breakdown, Mr. Buyer, Mr. Seller. Here's why it's on the seller side, or here's what's on the buyer side. And that's where a lot of agents get uncomfortable with the conversation. Is anytime commission comes up, a weak agent loses their mind.
Well, the weak ones will be like, well, no, you're not paying me that. You're paying the buyer's agent, right? And so, that is the weak agent not understanding how to communicate effectively, and it's lack of confidence, right? So, I mean,
do you want to run through your objection handler rundown when you get challenged for your 6% at a listing appointment?
Absolutely.
Let's. You want to do all three of us?
You guys gonna role play it?
Let's do it. Nick gets to go first.
Well, I'm not paying 6%.
Yeah,
no. I'm telling you, we're role play, right? So I don't want to pay you 6%. What do you say?
I always ask, what do you want to pay me?
Yeah,
I don't want to pay you anything. Well, but what do you think is fair?
Well, 7%.
I like that one. Ben Kinney's got a really sweet, distorted online photo, like a video from Family Reunion in 2013, where he does his whole listing presentation on stage, and I watched it, and he does the bit with the taking dollars off the table, like it's real. But he does.
I do it with business cards.
Yeah, and I think the business card works really well. But he also does. He's like, so ask me to take a commission reduction, and the person on stage role playing with asks him, and he just says no, and then he just sits there, and he's like, this is what I do every time. He's like, and I don't. He's like, the person who talks next is the one who ends up losing. So I just say no and shut up.
That's such a good point, though, and even though, the maybe the newer agent is going to say, well, Ben Kinney can do that because it doesn't matter if he loses the listing. But that point that you made right there is huge. It is not so much that someone like Ben Kinney can afford to lose a listing because he sells 1,000-something houses a year. It is more so that is, you hit the nail on the head. The first person to talk to defend themselves usually loses.
Well, the seller just doesn't care about your money. Like, let's stop acting like the seller is super concerned about you putting shoes on your kids' feet. They have their own kids, man.
Or paying taxes.
Yeah, like they don't care. It's just such a. I just think at the end of the day, like you said, adapting to the market, becoming more relational, we've always talked about. I just think meeting people right where they're at and being empathetic to their situation. Mm-hmm. I have more success looking at somebody being like, look, I understand. I don't want to pay over for something that I don't have to anyways. Right, so here, let me show you why it might be beneficial to you.
Right.
If you know your competition, you know who you're up against, you might be able to poke holes and maybe not necessarily saying what they do, but focusing on what you do that you know they can't.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of ways to bring value to that conversation without having to use stupid shit like it's my kid or you.
Yeah. I never use that.
No, it's terrible.
I usually will say no, and because it doesn't go well just over audio, and I do sit there in silence.
Right.
And I do this on the phone too. I will run jokes or not even jokes. I will time myself when I'm asking questions or to see how long I can let that awkward silence over the phone go, to see who's going to
so
talk
uncomfortable.
first. And I'll mute it and I'll sit there.
Yeah.
Right? And I've gotten really good at it.
Yeah.
I can handle that awkward pause and that awkward silence where the newer agents, especially on our team, can't handle that. They start sweating. They get real nervous. They start moving around.
Are you there? Are you still there?
Oh, yeah. And I was just waiting for a response.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think that's great.
Yeah. So, another question that was asked by actually one of your buddies, Matt, in the Herd group, David Hill.
Oh, yeah.
Has a great podcast. I think it's called the Sales Mastery Podcast. He was asking me, where do you see the industry going in the next 3 to 5 years or even, 3 to 10 years? So, where do you guys kind of see this industry headed? Are we going to be like travel agents?
Well, I think it's important not to. Well, 3 to 10 years is a ridiculous spectrum. We'll go through a whole nother business.
I meant 3 to 100.
Yeah, 3 to 100 years. We have a lot of these conversations, and I guess my response to that is, why do people care so much?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, obviously, I care on a day-to-day basis because what the market is doing has a direct effect on how I'm behaving day-to-day in my business. Right. For example, right now, there is probably not a better buying opportunity in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex than new construction homes, because when you have a heavy seller's market, right, we're at the beginning of a seller's market, that part of the business cycle, builders will just buy land, build, right? They're making their profits for the first 75% of that business cycle. In the last 25% where we're at right now, who's got the ability to cut their margins, right? The individual seller who bought 5 years ago or the builder who sold 2,000 homes in the last 5 years, knowing that the only way for them to make their profits is to buy as much land as possible and continue to build. They don't really even care if they break even on that last 25%. They've made their money up front. And so it's a tremendous buying opportunity, right? And that's where the market is at right now. Now that's gonna change what I'm doing day to day, right? We're running different ads. We're promoting new construction sales a lot, which is awesome because there's a lot of good agent incentives for those. But in another 2 years, who knows? We'll see maybe a little bit more of a flattening out. It'll be a buyer heavy market, and then we've got to adjust what we're doing some more. And then give it another year. We'll be back into the beginnings of another seller market, and we'll go back to the listing side of things. And I would say that in 3 years, I see the market being almost opposite what it is right now. In 7 years, I see it being the exact same, because that's what history will tell you about any market. Give it, whether it's the T-shirt market, the lasagna market, or the real estate market.
I want in on lasagna market.
I know, dude. It's a serious market. Things are cyclical. They're called business cycles for a reason. And so 3 years, I think we'll be in much more of a buyer's market.
Where do you see us as real estate agents, though? Where
do I see us as real estate agents? I see us being more leveraged technologically. And I've even said this before, and we have the conversation about commissions and things like that. I do see us at some point, probably in the next 5 to 10 years, having to take a different approach to our business as far as what we make on commissions and things like that. But also, that's going to be reflected in how cost effectively we run our businesses and the volume of production that we do. I do think that the individual agent is on his way out in real estate. Yep. I just don't think it's there anymore. There used to be plenty of individuals in every persuasion, right? Stockbrokers and just pretty much everything, right? You can't fight advancement. You can't fight growth. There are too many great businesses out there, great teams out there, great mega teams out there that are making things too efficient for their clients. And then with the consistent innovation and technology, giving more clients tools, giving us more tools, our job should essentially become easier if we can leverage them, which means that we can do more volume with less effort. And if that means that I've got to do a little bit less money per transaction, but I can do 3 times as much production in the next 5-10 years, I'm totally fine with that. And that's where I see the individual agent not having that capability and then being on their way out.
Yep. And I mean, with the end part of that, I agree completely. And that's why I made the move I made at the end of 17, right? To like join a huge expansion. For me, I don't know what the industry is going to look like. I know what I'm focused on right now is my adaptability of my own mindset. Like, I'm trying to get to a space where sometimes I hear you guys talk about things and I'm like, holy shit. How do they know about that? Or how do they see that opportunity, right? And it just comes through working your way through all the little problems, kind of like the stupid video stuff. You see somebody doing really cool video, well, how did they get that? And you start backing out the process. I'm focused a ton on those opportunities and as well as the networking that comes from those.
Right.
The people, I feel like for me, the people that I hang around right now has never been more important in my life than it's ever been. Because us constantly masterminding, you know how much shit I know from us doing this show, that just because we're forced to pay attention to certain things and we talk about this stuff all the time, and then it spawns into other conversations with other people about other stuff. It's like I'm just stockpiling knowledge and learning so much right now. My goal is to just be adaptable to where if the commission structure as we know it goes to a place where it no longer provides you the ability to build any kind of even riches, not even wealth, just riches, right?
Yeah.
So you can go buy some investment property. I want to have a plan B. Because right now my plan B is making gin and tonics again for people in Highland Park, and I'm not interested.
Pays well. Doesn't it pay really well?
It paid really well at the time, but I make more now.
Yeah. Here's how I see it, right? So, I mean, look, I agree with where we're headed is dollar per transactions going down, right? So, but where I see the opportunity is capturing more market share as we continue to grow. And I do believe the individual agent is dying. I do believe of all us three here, all of our teams are in even yours, Matt, of even being with that larger expansion. Until you get larger, we're all in that kind of no man's land of being eaten up and being swallowed up by the larger groups, right? And so, what we're looking at is kind of a two-folded approach. And I even talked about this on David Hill's podcast, is, one, to stay relevant, is we're no longer considering ourselves a real estate company. We are a media company. And for now, the media company is myself. Elizabeth Austin does a great job of getting her name and the Good Home Team's name out there, and we're getting our other agents comfortable with that. And so bringing that attraction model in so that they view us as the true local experts, and then building from that goes outward, right? And we can do more deals that way. 2 is then partnering and bringing in and having ownership in the businesses, meaning like eventually insurance, mortgage, maybe title, or maybe it comes into the home automation services, the concierge style services, like people still want alarms, smart homes, et cetera. And now you can make less on a traditional sale, but they're using your products, right? And so you actually may end up making more money per client because you're able to package it all together.
Yep.
Right? So that's where I'm looking at the industry heading, is more of a complete all-in-one solution. Because why do I want to? This is what I hate, right? I'm going to any type of business, even in the car business right now, it still feels like it's segmented. Where I want to be able to get my car, I want to be able to get, if it's pre-owned or not certified, I want to be able to get a warranty right there. I don't want to have to go to I don't want to have to go to all these different places. I want it all in one. I want to make sure it's from a reputable, legit company, and that I get the best service possible.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Right? And so that's where I see the industry kind of headed, and we're making steps in order to make sure that we stay relevant in that market.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When's your episode come out with David Hill? Or is it out already?
It's already out. So just go to David Hill, Sales Mastery Podcast. I'm the last one, I think the last 4 minutes of it. So I think he had 6 or 7 people on. He was interviewing people at family reunion. Seychelles Van Pool's on there, so a great friend of ours.
Nice. Yeah.
I mean, he had some top. I think I was the low man on that poll.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Man.
So I'm honored and lucky to be a part of that show.
That's cool, man.
But it was 4 minutes long. So I give you the best 4 minutes on that one.
So many jokes there.
Well,
I think that's it. We did pretty good with her comment show with no comments.
Yeah.
Actually, here's the one thing everybody can comment on this episode. I want to know which one of you sociopaths would be right-handed and drink with your left hand. Like, that's a comment below if you're one of those nut jobs.
So I'm going to comment right now. I only drink out of a mug with my left hand.
But you're right-handed.
I am right-handed.
So I'm like Ken Griffey Jr., right? Like I throw right-handed, but I bat left-handed.
You're nothing like Ken Griffey Jr.
He's amazing. So that we both look good with our hats backwards.
I look great with my hat.
I'm only a one-time home run derby champion, so we have a difference there.
I know.
But then also the right-handed, left-handed thing. But I don't know what kind of psychopath who's right-handed drinks coffee with his left hand. Just the logo can be out.
That's
Just
why.
it's
Maybe
the
that's why
mugs that are wrong.
Yeah.
I've taught myself. I used to tie my right hand behind my back, so I can only pick up the coffee mug with
That's
my
the
left.
talent he learned with that.
Yes. So next week, guys. By the way, just some general housekeeping. If you're watching this show, obviously not live on Facebook, please comment down below. Like this, share this, love this, comment. And if you're watching this on YouTube, comment down below, subscribe, hit that notification bell.
Little bell, dig.
Our podcast channel, leave us a review, please.
Yep.
We've got 25, 26, all 5-star reviews. I mean, that's just...
Yeah, keep bringing the 5s.
Yeah.
If you don't like our show, screw you. Don't leave us a review.
Don't leave us a review at all. Get off our page.
And so 5-star review it and share this out there. And then we are going to have, I'm 99.9% sure, next week, Adam Bailey built up a call center ISA department to, I think they sold 1,600 houses the last year he was a part of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's going to be able to drop some great knowledge. And we're excited to have him on.
That'd be awesome, man. All right, cool. Well, until next week, boys. Derek,
Appreciate it, guys.
take us out, my man.